Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and this is BP NFL. Andrew Erickson, Terrell, Furman, and I are going to take a look at the preseason week 2. A very eventful preseason last week. Some good, some bad, some hurt too. Lots of hurt, lots of pain. This is what happens. This is why you got to be very careful when you're making your season-long wagers, and we're going to help you out with that in the weeks to come too. We're going to give you our picks for MVP, our picks for AP Player of the Year, the rookies, everything, including the division winners, playoff, Super Bowl. But we've still got a ways to go. So, gentlemen, it's time to take a look ahead to the preseason. Andrew Erickson, what did you learn from last week in the preseason?
That I'm not good at preseason betting. That's the first thing I learned. Every time I looked at the TV during the Fantasy Football Expo, it was just another one of my bets being lit to flames. So I'm approaching it with a different perspective here in week 2, and we'll see how things shake out.
Terrell, Furman, any takeaways from you from what you saw week 1? Look, preseason wagering is tough. There's no doubt about that. Talk about ranges of outcomes. But any big takeaways from you? Anything you saw maybe that surprised you last week?
Not really. Just the big thing is stay the course. That's all I'm gonna say. Stay the course. If you have an edge and it didn't work, well, guess what? Sometimes there's a reason sometimes those bets don't hit, but it means that they're just due. They're due to come back. And a few of these plays I'm running back from last week because we just had an unfortunate bounce, maybe a fumble here or there. And so I think we're gonna have better luck this week.
Terrell's got 3 words for you. Trust the process. There you go. Right back. Betting Pros app is going to help you do that too. Make sure you download the Betting Pros app for iOS and for Android. Sync your sports books for free and let our amazing tools, including the parlay machine that is coming out. Ooh, it's going to be so good. So make sure you're using the pick tracker. Make sure you're finding the best place to make your bets at all the different books. That's what Betting Pros gives you, the ability to analyze your bets, follow the people who are the best in the space. Like Andrew Erickson's going to have to follow somebody for preseason NFL because last week was rough, but that's okay. We're going to get back and do it all again. But again, download the Betting Pros app. Just check it out for free. And of course, when you go premium, you get a lot more bells and whistles. All right, gentlemen, let's kick things off here and let's look at Andrew Erickson's first wager for preseason week number 2. We got Vikings and Browns. Andrew, what's your play here?
I'm going towards the under here. It's my shift in strategy this week. Last week, I was picking mostly teams against the spread, and that did not work out well. So I'm going to chase some of these totals here. And if you guys have followed me throughout the regular season, I love unders. I'm the Undertaker. That's what they call me. So just looking at last week, the recap, 11-5 towards the under out of the 16 games played. Only 3 games went over 37.5 points, which is kind of that threshold we're looking for when you really want to go under on totals that are above that number and vice versa. And the thing that Terrell brought up last week that was so sharp, it was the only bet I made, I think that made money on, was the Giants-Lions under, and it was because of the joint practices. So I'm just going to extrapolate that to this entire week and kind of see how things happen. So every pick that I'm talking about today in terms of an under are between teams that are participating in joint practices this week. So starting with the Vikings and Browns. Vikings are in a very bad place right now. They just lost J.J. McCarthy for the entire season due to this knee injury. And I'm going to fade their offensive juggernaut score from last week. They all look good. The Vikings offense was great. But I think this means they're going to come out flat a little bit here. You know, they just lost one of their quarterbacks they were excited about. And I think that the coach might be a little bit more timid. And we might see Kevin O'Connell do what he traditionally does, being from the Sean McVay tree, where this guy's never really played starters during the preseason. The Vikings are 1-9 over the last 10 preseason games. So, again, how much are we going to see of Sam Darnold now that they already lost another one of their quarterbacks? So I'm just not buying into this being an offensive juggernaut type of game. And the number here at 37.5 is high enough for me where I feel really comfortable taking the under in this matchup.
All right, Terrell, give us your take on Vikings-Browns.
Yeah, I mean, so here, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'm gonna continue to fade Kevin O'Connell in the preseason. Going into last week, he was 1-5 ATS, and then they go and they pull out a win. Very much so. They pull out a win against the Raiders, and a lot of it was due to JJ McCarthy and being able to play and get 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns in that game. He threw for 2. He led a drive that ran in 1, and then he got hurt. He's out of the game. He's out for the season now. We were just talking about it off air, which really sucks. And Jaron Hall is probably going to step up. He's going to have some reps in this game, but he didn't look good, which is really, saddening for me watching him come out of BYU. And then you have Nick Mullins, who I think is still going to be a downgrade from how McCarthy was playing. So looking at the quarterback room, you have Jameis, you have DTR, who I love. Like, I just think that this Browns team offensively is going to look a lot better in a bounce back game. So, did it work out the first week? No, but I think that between the battle of the Kevins here, that Stefanski is going to be a better preseason coach than O'Connell. So, I'm taking the Browns -3.5.
All right, Terrell, you're new to these parts, so I'm going to ask you, what do you like better? Because we were playing around with nicknames last year for Andrew. Do you like The Undertaker or Andrew Under's son? Like, both of those were acceptable last year.
Undertaker.
Still The Undertaker? I figured it was a wrestling guy. I figured you got it. Okay, so there we go. The Undertaker it is. Speaking of The Undertaker, back to Andrew Erickson. You guys both have feelings about Bengals at Bears. And Andrew, you're in the under. Why?
Yes, another under bet for me here at 37-point total. Again, it's another high number, so this is what I'm going to usually just lean towards when it's a number this high. And again, I'm fading a team that people were really excited about last week. Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams is Patrick Mahomes. We love it. And everyone's excited about the Chicago Bears. They're on Hard Knocks. It's great. But when you look at the facts, look, we have potential for bad weather Thursday through Saturday. So again, how much are the Chicago Bears starters going to play? Should the Bears quit while they're ahead, essentially? Oh, we drafted the right guy. We're good to go. Like, let's just get to week one. And we look at the Bengals side. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. Jake Browning, the backup quarterback, he's dealing with a rib injury. He's going to miss a lot of time, according to Zach Taylor. That means it's going to be Logan Woodside and fourth-string quarterback Rocky Lombardi, who couldn't decide if he wanted to be a boxer or an NFL football legends head coach. So he decided to be both. Rocky Lombardi, QB4 for the Cincinnati Bengals. Amarius Mims, starting tackle for the Bengals, is also out with the strained pec. So given that the Bengals, again, like a Kevin O'Connell, have not been a team under Zach Taylor that's really taken the preseason extremely seriously, especially because they haven't had Joe Burrow for a lot of that time. 2-6-1 over the last 9 preseason games, well under 20 points per game scored. The joint practices and the fact that I think that Caleb Williams did enough in his debut, I think that the Bears we're fine. We feel good about where we're at. I don't think that either team is really going to try to put points on the board here, so I'm going under 37.
I'll tell you what, he did fail epically, though, on the Hard Knocks singing. I know the rookie's got to sing. Bro, come on, man. You're the leader of a team. You got that giant signing bonus. You better come correct there, and you better sing that song well. Whatever, it was a John Legend song he was trying to sing. Whatever it was, it's no good. It was no good. Come on, bro. Come on. All that money, you couldn't take 5 minutes to get your song down. That's embarrassing. That's not what a leader does. Terrell, you're a leader around here. You also have feelings about the Bears and the Bengals. So let's go to your breakdown of this game and how you want to approach it from a wagering standpoint.
Well, Erickson kind of stole my flow when he mentioned how bad Zach Taylor is in the preseason, because that's all this handicap is. I'm fading a bad coach in the preseason in Zach Taylor, and I'm taking a good coach in the preseason in Matt Eberflus, who is now 5-1 ATS in the preseason. We saw Caleb Williams. He is the brand new shiny toy that everybody's excited about, and he can look good for another series and maybe even better than what he did in that game against the Bills. And so I think that the offense is going to roll. They have a nice competition going on behind them for who's going to be the backup, who's going to be the third string. They have 4 QBs that are going out there, and the defense actually looks pretty solid. I think that they made a lot of really good plays, and so this is another situation where I'm going to just continue to trust my systems, and I'm going to fade Zach Taylor, who I really wish I faded him in our picks last week because he lost outright and gave Tampa Bay a +220 dog there. So that would have been a really good price. I'm going to continue to fade him again here. I'm taking the Bears and I'm laying the points.
The Eberflus glow up, though, is for real. I just want to say.
Shout out to his wife.
Right? Yeah. I mean, the big difference, man. Big difference. There you go. See, it's never too late, guys. It's never too late.
Look good, play good, coach good.
There you go. All the above. That's how I approach flag football on Saturdays for my daughter's league. You know, I got to make sure coordinate, got the whole thing, got the hat ready to go, the cool sunglasses, the whole thing. You got to show up ready to go. Erickson, let's talk about the Seahawks and Titans. See who's ready to go in this one. The under is 36.5. And what a surprise. That's where the Undertaker wants to live this week.
Exactly, because I want to back Mike McDonald and this Seahawks defense that he's putting out there. Look, the Chargers last week against the Seahawks, they had no first downs until their 7th possession. They had 9 first downs total. So McDonald's coming in here because he wants to set a tone with his new team as the new head coach. And for this number here, again, it's near that 37-point threshold that I'm looking to bet unders on. The Seahawks starters probably aren't going to play in this game. And the Titans are dealing with actual surprising retirement for one of their starting guards. Sadiq Charles kind of caught them off guard with a retirement. So now they have another question mark about on their offensive line. Look, these teams averaged 16.5 points in preseason week 1. And if it weren't for that one Calvin Ridley play, Will Levis would not have thrown for many yards last week. So again, I'm just buying into the Seahawks defense for real, and I'm going to take the under.
All right, Terrell, let's take a look at the Eagles and the Patriots. Patriots, obviously going to be having some different quarterback looks out there, you would think. The over-under on this game is 37.5. Where do you stand on it?
Oh, well, another joint practice, but this is going to be a little bit different from my handicap of the Lions and the Giants, because the Lions and the Giants was just a battle royal. They were fighting the whole time. Hey, guess what? Coach Mayo said, look, if you fight, if you're a starter, you're playing the whole game. And if you're a backup, you're not playing at all. That is the punishment for fighting. Do you know how much aggression is pent up into the Patriots right now? I mean, they are ready to hit somebody and hit somebody hard. Oh, I remember what you said in joint practice earlier this week. I'm about to go ahead and lay you out. I think that they're going to go out here. They're going to be super competitive. Both of these two teams went under this total last week. I think that this is another situation where you have joint practices during the week. Both of these two teams getting a little bit more familiar with each other as they practice. And then we're going to come in here and see pretty much a slow, hard hitting, not really a lot of points scored in this one. So I like the under 37.5.
Broncos and Packers, the next one. This one's going to be at Denver here. The over-under is 40. Oh, the Undertaker strikes again, doesn't he, Erickson?
I do, and I can't believe we went with Jordan Love in the graphic and not the great Bo Nix, who is going to basically be the greatest quarterback of all time, given what he did in season week 1. Okay.
Easy.
Even
the sarcasm is...
No, but this is where we're starting to get carried away here. He looked good in week 1 of the preseason, and now we have a 40-point total in a preseason game. That's way too big of a number. I get the Broncos and Colts scored 64 points last week, but I mean, the Broncos had something to prove. Like, they wanted to use their offense. They were having a quarterback battle, is what Sean Payton is saying. They're also playing the Colts defense. Very vanilla in a dome. Okay, so there was points scored. I don't expect the Packers starters to play, if at all. They played 3 snaps in the week 1 of the preseason. So, again, this is just a massive number. 40 points. Again, and these teams are going to be participating in joint practices this week. So I think for me, this is really just fading the recency bias of a crazy week 1 preseason game when we know you shouldn't overvalue what you're seeing in the preseason, especially in the box score. So for me, this is way too big of a number, and it's easy for me to take the under.
I have been one of the biggest critics of Bo Nix throughout his college career. See, I'm old enough to remember the Auburn days where the expectations were high and the performance was not good. So the recent evolution of Bo Nix is encouraging. It was, I think, good for Sean Payton, good for the Broncos that Bo Nix didn't look like a disaster, but I'm kind of where you are, Erickson, let's not anoint him either at the same time.
Well, when you spend 6 years in college, you should look pretty good in a preseason.
Well, usually you end up being a doctor when you spend that many years in college. Terrell Furman, the prescription typically for preseason betting is betting on the Ravens. So are we going back to that this week with Ravens Falcons?
Why not? It's still 40-21 against the spread under John Harbaugh. That's still great numbers. And guess what? He's due. John Harbaugh is going to figure this out. He's going to get them back on the right track. And guess what? The Falcons were out there. And yes, Michael Penix did play, and he played well. I thought he did play really, really well. Outside of him, none of the quarterbacks could get anything going. Taylor Heineke didn't look good. He looked a shell of himself. Nathan Rourke was so bad that he ended up signing the biggest deal that the Canadian Football League had to offer. That's how bad he played, that he just left training camp.
How many loonies and
got
toonies
rid
is
of
that,
him.
Terrell?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you. Imagine things that we could do with that contract. So he's out, and you bring in John Paddock, who was the former Ball State, Illinois quarterback who did not play well in college by any means. So I don't think he's going to be any good. Like, I think this Ravens team, first of all, everything had to go wrong. No, I'm gonna vet for a second. I just don't understand how everything went wrong for the Ravens last week and blew that cover. Like, we had a missed field goal, and I'm rejoicing. Missed field goal, yes. And then Devin Leary, all you have to do is move the football forward. Just move the football forward. He fumbles, gives the ball immediately back, and they kick the game-winning field goal that cashes Eagles -2. Oh, Harbaugh is so due. Like, this could be the best bet of all best bets this week. You have to take Harbaugh in the preseason here.
All right, we got to move forward too. So after the Ravens, we've got one game left, and it happens to be the 49ers and the Saints. And the boys have some feelings about that game. Let's start with Andrew's feelings. Andrew, how are you approaching this one?
I'm going to back the Saints against the spread -2.5 because Dennis Allen's going to take as many W's as he can before who knows how long he's going to be the Saints head coach for. So he's going to take them when he can, especially in the preseason. So for me, it's a bet against the 49ers. They're just so banged up. When I was doing my joint practice research, Saints and 49ers were scheduled to have joint practices this week, but they canceled them because the 49ers have so many players injured. They had up to 23 players miss one of their most recent practices. So for me, they have so much stuff going on with Brandon Ayuk holding out. They're figuring out they got to trade him. Trent Williams is also holding out because of his contract. They're a bigger fish to fry than taking on the New Orleans Saints, to be honest. I really think the 49ers are focused on much other things rather than the Saints. And like I said at the opening, he needs to put good stuff on tape for the Saints, for their management, because when you look at the odds, first coach to be fired, right there is Dennis Allen at the top. So he needs to put out as much good juju as possible to buy him as much time as he can during the regular season. And you're just historically looking at the Saints, how they've done in the preseason, 4-2 in their last 6 games, 5-1 straight up. So I do like the Saints a lot in this game against the spread. My one against the spread pick this week.
All right, Terrell, you've got feelings about this 49ers Saints game. The over-under is 38.5. So where do you land?
Yeah, I'm taking the under, and it's also because these teams are supposed to have joint practices, and the 49ers said that we can't even field a roster for a joint practice, and now I'm supposed to think you can field a roster for a game? Like, I don't think that that's going to bode well. I think that this 49ers team is going to struggle to move the ball here, and I, for one, am a little bit down on the Saints, and I think that they still offensively give me a lot of question marks where I don't know if they can take advantage of the 49ers being shorthanded on the defensive side of the ball. I think this is a high total at 38.5, and so I'm going down on the under because I just do not trust either one of these teams offensively, but especially not the 49ers after they said we can't even joint practice because we don't have enough bodies.
Yeah, that certainly would make it difficult for sure. Also, all the drama going on too with Brandon Ayuk and all the situation there. Certainly a lot to continue to keep an eye on. But you should also keep an eye on us here at Betting Pros, because on our YouTube channel, Terrell Furman is back with NBA and WNBA specifically in that. So the women are back playing from the Olympics, and Terrell Furman's going to help you bet on that with Fast Break Bet. So make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. Drop your comments below. Ring the bell till it goes ding. We're going to have NFL action for you 5 days a week here on the channel as well. So join us at Betting Pros. Again, we're giving away free stuff too, upgrades, all kinds of fun things. Get in the mix because NFL season is going to be here in just a few weeks. And I, for one, am super excited about it. Don't forget to sync your sports books, download the Betting Pros app, and start betting smarter, not harder, like these boys. And that'll do it for us. But the story game goes on. For Terrell Furman and Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Happy betting.